The United Kingdom, once the industrial powerhouse of the world, a global empire spanning continents, and a country with bustling villages and vibrant communities. But today, a different question looms over the nation. Where has everyone gone? It's a question being asked more and more, not just by those living in quaint, emptying villages, but by observers wondering why so many Brits are choosing to pack up and leave. Let's take a look at the shifting landscapes, both literal and metaphorical, of the UK population and how this trend compares to the so-called good old days. Back in the mid-20th century, the UK was a place of booming industries, coal mining, steel production, and shipbuilding. Jobs were plentiful, and communities were closely knit. Towns like Liverpool, Sheffield, and Newcastle were thriving. Families lived near each other for generations, and you'd always recognize a friendly face at the local pub. But today, the picture looks rather different. Once thriving industrial towns have seen their populations dwindle. For example, in Liverpool, the population fell by nearly 40% between 1930 and the 1980s. While some of this decline has been reversed in recent years due to urban redevelopment, the scars remain. One of the biggest changes is housing. In the 1950s, home ownership was rising, and the cost of living was more manageable. A house could be bought with a single modest salary, and communities were built around local schools, parks, and businesses. Fast forward to today, and the average house price in the UK has skyrocketed to £286,000 in 2023, with London prices even higher, averaging over £700,000. Compare that to 1970, when a house in the UK cost an average of just £4,000. The result: younger generations are increasingly priced out of home ownership, leading to a sense of instability and even prompting many to seek better opportunities abroad. But it's not just the cost of living that's prompting people to leave the UK. Emigration from the UK has been steadily rising. In 2022 alone, nearly 400,000 people left the country, with many heading to Australia, Spain, and the United States. Compare that to the 1950s, when emigration figures were much lower, and the UK was seen as a destination of opportunity, rather than a place to leave. So why are people leaving? For some, it's the promise of better weather after all. The UK's infamous grey skies are no match for Australia's sunshine. But for others, it's deeper than that. Stagnant wages, the rising cost of living, and a sense of political and social instability have made the prospect of living elsewhere seem more appealing. Of course, it's not all doom and gloom. Some cities, like Manchester and London, have become global tech hubs, attracting young talent from all over the world. In fact, the UK has one of the largest tech sectors in Europe, with tech companies contributing £149 billion to the UK economy in 2022. The UK remains one of the most diverse and culturally rich countries in the world. However, this urban growth has also contributed to the decline of rural areas, as people flock to cities for work, leaving small towns and villages struggling to survive. But there's another factor contributing to the feeling that no one lives here anymore, and that's the changing face of British identity. The UK is now a multicultural society, with 14% of the population identifying as non-white in the 2021 census. Immigration has changed the demographic landscape significantly, particularly in cities like London and Birmingham. While this diversity has brought vibrant cultural exchanges and economic benefits, it has also led to debates over national identity, which some claim has contributed to a sense of division. In the past, being British meant staying close to home, but today, more Brits than ever are becoming citizens of the world. The rise of remote work has only accelerated this trend. In 2023, around 6 million people worked from home or abroad, a staggering change from the factory-based jobs that dominated the UK workforce in the post-war era. Countries like Portugal and Spain have become popular destinations for British digital nomads, who can now earn a UK salary while enjoying a lower cost of living overseas. And yet, For all the glamour of living abroad, some would argue that something fundamental has been lost. In the 1950s, the UK had a stronger sense of community. Neighbours knew each other. Families stayed in the same town for generations. Today, we live in an era of individualism, where careers and technology often take precedence over face-to-face connections. In some ways, the UK feels emptier, not just in terms of people, but in the sense of belonging. Even our high streets tell the story. Once the heart of British life, lined with bustling shops and local businesses, today they stand as a ghostly reminder of a bygone era. Since 2012, more than 25,000 high street shops have closed their doors for good, replaced by online shopping giants. This, too, contributes to the sense that the UK's town centres are losing their vibrancy. So, what does the future hold? Well, the UK is certainly changing. It's far from empty. Yes, people are leaving, and yes, communities have shifted, but new forms of community are emerging. The rise of technology, the globalization of work, and the multicultural tapestry that defines modern Britain mean that while the country may feel different from the past, perhaps the better question isn't where has everyone gone, but rather, what is Britain becoming? Because while the days of close-knit towns and booming industry might feel like distant memories, the UK is still a place of opportunity and resilience, just in a different way than before.